Hello, welcome to Motor Mouth, brought to you by the Boyertown Museum of Historic Vehicles. I'm Kendra Cook.
I'm Dan.
And we're so glad you all decided to join us this evening. The show is brought to you by the Boyertown Museum of Historic Vehicles, and we're located at 85 South Walnut Street here in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. And if you would like to get a hold of us here at the museum, you can give us a call. The number here is 610-367-2090, or send us an email at mail, that's M-A-I-L, at boyertownmuseum.org. And we're open Tuesdays through Sundays, 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're closed Mondays and assorted holidays.
Assorted holidays.
The big holidays.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we're here tonight. We're standing here in the Reading Diner, and that's because another Diner Day is upon us.
Yes.
Very soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when would that Diner Day be, by the way?
Well, it's going to be on Saturday, November 8th.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're watching this a little later in the month, I'm sorry, you might have missed it. We hope you made it and joined us there. But
it's my sister's birthday, too.
That's right.
She's coming, by the
She
way.
better be coming.
Yeah.
I'm planning on her coming.
Yep.
I've already got this all planned out.
Cool.
Beth, right?
Yes. Yep.
See you there, Beth. I'm waiting for
so
you.
you visitors, you come, ask for Beth Rogers. So, okay.
Get her autograph.
Yeah.
Now, Diner Day is one of our most popular events. This will be the third one,
Right.
I think, that we've done. And basically, what it is you can come here to the museum, pay your regular admission price, which is very reasonable, I might add.
Yes.
It's $6 for adults. And then you can come in here into the Reading Diner, which was once part of Fagley's Family Restaurant. And for your 1938 prices, that means 25 cents for pie, 5 cents for coffee. You can sit in here and eat your delicious homemade pie,
Homemade. Yes.
fresh brewed coffee, and just enjoy the whole ambiance of sitting in here in this
Yep.
neat old diner, and really a restaurant that has not been closed for very long. So a lot of people still remember it.
Absolutely.
Lots of good memories here in the area. So we hope to see you then. And there's going to be new stuff to do and see in the museum as well. So if you were here at the last one in April, March? I don't remember. Somewhere in there. Doesn't matter. Come this time and you'll still see some different things going on here in the museum gallery. So we hope to see you all there. And I guess in honor of Diner Day, we're going to be talking a little bit about this building in particular, but we're also going to hear a little bit from you, Dan,
Right.
about what you did eating on the road when you didn't have a diner around.
Well, not me personally.
Not
but
you personally.
What people did back
Someone
then.
would
Yes.
have done. So we're going to go on a little tour,
We are.
basically,
We are.
of what's here and some accessories that we have.
Right,
that you
right.
can-
But before we go, and I can explain, excuse me, I can explain a little bit. We got this diner. This is from 1938, and there were diners in town. Way before this, diners probably, there's always eating establishments out there, but they were just in town. But if you went from, let's say, Boyertown to Reading, which is roughly 15 to 20 miles, it might take you a whole day because of the bad roads and stuff. So you would have lunch and do that sort of stuff. And there's all kinds of cool things I found that would help you eat that lunch. And that's what we're going to be looking at.
Yeah. So we kind of sprinkled them throughout the museum.
Right.
So we'll be getting out of the diner here too in a little bit, and we'll go a little bit to some neat cars too while we're doing that.
Right.
So.
Right.
Speaking of neat cars, we also have with us this evening a very unique car you'll see nowhere else. It's called the Rhino, and if that doesn't sound familiar to you, don't feel bad. It's the only car of its kind, and it's currently here at the museum, so it's another reason to come out on Diner Day is to see this car in person. But we're going to have a segment on that later in the program. And you're also going to be introduced to a new face here at the museum too later on. So, I think we got a varied evening in front of us.
Right.
So I guess we're going to start in here though with some history on this diner.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay. Well, let's see. Where do we start? This is a 1938 Gary O. Mahoney. And Gary O. Mahoney was a really pretty prosperous builder of these diners. There were a couple of other companies that did this. Gary O. Mahoney was one of the heavy hitters. And they were located in Elizabeth, New Jersey, so not too far away.
So it's like a homeboy to me.
Yeah.
We're both natives in New Jersey. So.
You from Elizabeth?
No, kind of near it, but not Elizabeth. So.
Neighbor.
Yeah, neighbors.
Yeah, so that's where this in particular diner came from. And, Howard Fagley, who was the original owner, I think he actually did have a little diner type restaurant even before this one. And he bought this in 1938. And he started his restaurant along Route 422 in Exeter, just on this side of Reading. And he started this great little diner. And from 1938 till 1950, if you were to go eat there, it would look a lot like this. Freestanding structure like this. But then in 1950, he wanted to expand. He was doing so well with his business. He actually moved it across the street, across Route 422. And he built his Fagley's Family Restaurant around it. And
now, didn't they have a motel there at one time also?
Yes, there was a motel in the back.
Small one. Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long that was around. I'm not sure when they raised it. But yeah, there was also a motel. I've seen some photos of it.
Mm-hmm.
Not very big, like you said, just a few rooms in the back. And, basically, if you drove by it, you wouldn't see this diner from the road anymore. Right. Because he really did, I think we use the term cocooned a lot. He just basically built his restaurant right around it. Now, you could come in the front and you could eat in this part. There are people that didn't even know this was a totally different structure. Now, a lot of people remembered it or just knew that this decor is obviously a lot different from the dining rooms that branched off either end. From 1950 till 2003, it was Fagley's Family Restaurant. So he had a really good business there and pretty prosperous. It's a long time for a restaurant, really.
Yes, it is.
And it's interesting, the Gary O. Mahoney Company, they built these diners, but they went a little above and beyond that. They didn't just sell you a building and you were on your own. They did provide classes, basically, on business management and how to run a diner and accounting and things like that. So they really did want you to succeed. I always thought that was kind of interesting because it seems like a lot of times you buy something and they don't help you after that. They really went above and beyond that and tried to get people, their customers, to be successful. They wanted successful customers. It helps them too in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're seeing in here, for the most part, is original. This place was kept in pretty good shape, amazingly, for how hard it worked all those decades. Right. And basically what happened was when the restaurant closed in 2003, it was scheduled to be demolished. And anyone who's driven up that way now might recognize the site now has a Rite Aid. So if you go driving on 422 in Exeter and see the Rite Aid there, across from that big shopping center with the Target and the Giant and the Sonic.
Where the big shopping center is where this originally was.
Yeah, basically.
Before the airport motel, if you can remember that.
Yeah, I mean, lots of changes.
Yes.
So, yeah, if you drive up that way and you see the Rite Aid, and that's exactly where this would have been. And basically, there was a group called the Archbury Foundation, and they are really very interested in preserving the World War II home front experience. And they found out about this happening, and they didn't want to see the diner be demolished. And the Fagley family, now Howard Fagley had passed on by that point, but his daughter and his granddaughter were very generous and donated this diner to the Archbury Foundation. They basically let them save it. And it was craned out of the restaurant and moved. In fact, there is an episode of a History Channel program called Mega Movers. They document that moving of the diner the first time. And it was going to originally be sort of its own museum, its own destination. And that just did not pan through as planned. And eventually it came here. I think in 2008 it was, wasn't it? That sounds about right.
Okay.
Just agree with me, Dan.
Yeah.
2008, 2009 maybe. I got the
Okay.
year off. So 2009. And we did some work on it, but really, and I don't want to belittle all the work they did. Not as much as you'd think would have to be done on a 1938 building.
There's a lot of detail work, a lot of
Yes.
cleaning, very much cleaning.
Cleaning was a major undertaking in here. And I think even, you'll see there's a pattern on the wall tiles where you have all these orange wall tiles, and then there's a stripe of black tile that goes, and there's a stainless border on these black tiles. Well, no one knew they were stainless until it got cleaned. I think they thought it was like another ceramic tile. That's how much buildup of grime and everything was on it.
Crud.
So, crud would be the good word.
Yes.
Lots of bottles of crud cutter were used
Yes.
in cleaning this. So cleaning was a big deal. But some things have been replaced. You helped do some work on it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the roof, we put a new layer on the roof, and we got new gutters around it. Not that it's going to rain in here.
We hope it won't rain in here.
You know.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. This had been inside basically for almost its whole life. And it was outside for about 5 years or so. And those 5 years really did a number on the exterior. The exterior has gotten the most work.
Right. Yep.
Replacement or restoration wise. And the panels, there's these steel panels out front. Well, they had to pretty much be totally replaced.
Right.
They were just goners. They were
What
unsalvageable.
was neat about those steel panels is we have lettering on them, and we had a guy come in here and do it by hand. You know, and took him 2 Saturdays, I think, to do the whole thing.
Yeah, we wanted to do it
Kinda
by
old
hand. Yeah, because that's how it would have been done,
Right.
by hand. And there's also a menu, sort of a menu on the side of the building painted on.
Yes.
That you'll see later, and it's neat.
Yes.
It's neat that was even thought of. But we put it back, and that was something I think they didn't even know was on the building until they started to really dig deep and clean and do the restoration work. So, but in here, you know, the panels are the tiles, floor, and wall tiles. Those are original. We haven't replaced them.
Yep.
The countertops are original. And now we did have the tables, the Formica on them
Right.
has been replaced. And for those people who are eating pie in here on Saturday, they're probably very grateful for that, because that Formica was really rough too.
I know we had new upholstery, the new padding on the seat. That's new material, and the ceiling is new, and
The ceiling was a
lights.
big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. The lights, when we received this, the lights were fluorescents, and they were very...
bad.
Yeah, they were bad.
Yeah.
It was something you'd see in an older school.
Yes.
You know, the
School I grew up in.
they were not very attractive, and obviously they weren't from 1938.
Right.
So we took those down, and obviously that left holes in the ceiling that weren't correct anymore. The light fixtures in here are all new, but we did try to get something that looked as close to what would have been in here. And we figured this out by looking through old Jerry O'Mahony brochures and sales literature. We tried to find something as close as possible. And like you said, the ceiling is new as well. And, you know, I tell people the ceiling was yellow when we got this.
Yeah.
You'll notice it's more of a gray color now. And it wasn't yellow by choice. That was just years of grease and cigarette smoke that had basically stained it yellow. I will say we did try to clean it.
Yes.
And two problems with that. One was it was like a fiberboard material, if you remember, and it just flaked off and disintegrated basically. The other problem was you'll see there's like a marble pattern on that ceiling. Well, when you scrubbed hard enough to get rid of the gunk, you took the marble pattern with it. So we had the ceiling reproduced, and we think this is the color it should have been. Every photo we could find was black and white, but we tried to do our best to get the right color at least.
It works.
Yeah, and it looks
Very much,
it looks
yes.
It looks like it should. So it's success. It's a success. Pretty much everything else though. What did I forget that we replaced in here? That's probably about it.
That's about it. Yep.
The door.
The door.
The door. The one window next to the door. If you look at the wall panels underneath it, that grout is very white.
Right.
Compared to the other grout. And those are replacements because as times change, you know, he had to follow ADA compliance and have a double door for handicap access. So we had to knock out part of that wall, and those tiles we did replace, and he had a double door. We didn't have this door that's on the building now. We didn't have that at the time, or Archbury Foundation didn't. But when they were cleaning out the restaurant, they found the original door in the basement. He had never thrown it out. So
Wow.
this is the original door, and it does
See,
have...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it does have the nameplate for the Jerry O'Mahony Company on it. So we know it's the right door. Typical good Dutchman, don't throw out anything.
That's right.
It was good because we were able to put it back on. And so some of that wood framing then as well is reproduced for us, courtesy of the Boyertown Planing Mill. So, let's see, what did I miss?
I think we got everything.
Now, Dan, what do you do if you didn't have a diner to stop at
Oh,
and eat?
you would just stop along the road and eat.
Rough it.
You kind of rough it. You
Yeah.
had different utensils. You either bring your meal or you could cook it right there on the spot. There's a movie out there that I like to refer to, and if anybody has seen it, it's a W.C. Fields movie called It's a Life. And there's a place where they're going to California, and they stop for lunch, and they have all this stuff there. But they stopped at a place they think is a nice park, but it's actually somebody's estate. And they pretty much trash it, only as W.C. Fields could do it. So that's just a little sidelight there. But I always think of this when I was researching this and found all these unique roadside eating apparati.
Apparati?
Yeah. So let's
Stuff?
Stuff. So let's look at some of them and we'll talk about it. And we're going to go out to a couple of our cars and take a look because that's where the stuff is right now.
Great. Let's go look at some stuff.
Let's go.
All right.
Okay, here we have our first exhibit, I guess I could say. We're sitting here and standing here next to our 1928 LaSalle that's on display. Again, if you come Saturday, you can see this. But we are going to be talking again about some of the devices they use for eating along the road. And I'm thinking at first when they started going, or somebody maybe went on the road the first time, they didn't really have the baskets and such, but they might have had just whatever they had at home. And one of the items, this was loaned to me from a guy from work loaned this to me, is this pail. This is actually a lunch pail here, and and it's pretty neat. And that's granite ware finish. That's the name of this, and it's kind of like a porcelain, gray porcelain on it. And this is from his dad, or his grandfather, excuse me. And now his grandfather used this to go to work with, but again, you're adapting for the car, and it's just a neat lunch pail. And the top of it comes off, if you could show that. And that whole top of it is actually like the reservoir for water, whatever you want to drink. And then coming out of the top of that was the cup. And just
So easily.
yeah.
It just comes right off.
Yeah. So there you go. And that's what they had, and that's kind of a unique little device there. And I don't know how you get all the liquid out of there the way that's made, but you know, I guess if you're thirsty enough, you would manage it.
Yeah,
So
that's gonna be messy.
it would be. It would
Right.
be with me. Now, maybe that's why there was a hole punched in the side, and it's rusted through into one corner.
Oh yeah,
but-
look at that. I didn't even notice that.
So.
It's seen a lot of work in its days.
And then, you know, we have that. We also have this basket right here that somebody involved with the museum loaned us for this. And this is just a regular picnic basket, and it opens up. There's nothing really much in it, but you can really pile a lot of things in there. A lot of food, fried chicken, and what else would you have on a picnic? I'd have fried
Biscuits.
biscuits. That's it. We like biscuits. So. Okay, I'm gonna use my notes here because there's a lot of stuff here. Another thing you would have on cars. Now, we mentioned there would be water in this or something to drink. They used to have water bags, and sometimes in old movies or shows depicting the olden days, you'd see a water bag hanging from the front bumper of the car or from the hood ornament or something, and that would evaporate the water and cool it through a capillary action and so on and so forth. And it wouldn't evaporate all of it, but enough of it where it would keep it cool. How that works, I don't have the faintest idea, but it was pretty neat. And I found some of them online. One of them was called an Egyptian water bag, and that was just the brand name. It wasn't from Egypt or anything. Actually, it's from Chicago, Illinois, so that's not really
Well,
Egypt.
that makes perfect sense.
Oh, yeah. So another thing I found, and this goes way back, is like a thermos type of bottle. We're all used to thermos bottles now. There's one, it's called a Ferrostat bottle, and that's made by Stanley Insulating Company, no relation to the Stanley Tool Company that's around today. But that was an all-metal, indestructible vacuum bottle. It cost like $6. But actually, it was a nickel finish. It was $6.50. Rubber finish, I guess that made it unbreakable. That was $6. So that was kind of interesting how that went. So, excuse me. You had refrigerators. There was a product called the Nesco Perfect Refrigerator made by a company in Milwaukee, and it was a metal container with zinc lining. And you put ice in it and stuff, just kind of like a cooler, but it wasn't, I guess it wasn't insulated like you'd expect a cooler to be today. Globe refrigerator box, that was another one. Galvanized iron lining, that was insulated with asbestos. You know, now we think of asbestos as one of those words, you know, nothing has asbestos in anymore. So that's a couple of them. And then you had these lunch cases. And there was one that was called a Chemico lunch case made by Kennebunk Manufacturing Company up in New Hampshire. And it had the lunch case, you have like a thermos in that, and it had a small container to put the food in also. And then continuing larger, you got a Berg Auto Trunk, and they had several different sizes of them. You had a Warren Motor Lunch Kit made by the Warren Leather Goods Company in Worcester, Massachusetts, and there was kits for 2, 4, 5, 6, or 7 people. Prices depend on the included equipment. Now, the included equipment was a compartment for ice, a metal food box, space to put a pint vacuum or thermos bottle in. And here's a quote from one of their advertisements. The articles comprising the kits have been carefully selected for service and economy in space. The food boxes are made of agate ware and come in many sizes, according to the number of persons to be accommodated. Knives, forks, spoons, plates, sugar and salt containers, etc., are some of the articles contained therein. So there you go. You're pulling along the side of the road here. You got everything for a meal there. There's another one called the Knickerbocker, made by Knickerbocker Case Company out of Chicago. And that was a luncheon case and table. One of their brand names is Made Right Solid Alcohol Stove, which ran off of alcohol. And the Pullman Diner, which would cost $5 to $50, depending on the size of it. A quote from them, saves money, time, patience, solves eating problems. 3 auto party meals pays for it. Take along a Made Right motor luncheon case and table in your car or boat. Enjoy steaming hot and ice cold foods and drinks, table served anytime or place. Some really cool stuff there. And you can find some of them, that would be neat. You can find some of them, you could kind of loan it to the museum, it'd be a nice display, don't you think?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, and we're gonna continue on to another car and I'll bring some more information out for you, so.
It's funny, before we do that,
Oh,
I
yes.
hope I don't trip you up now.
You might.
You mentioned Nesco.
Yes.
And I think we have heard from them before, haven't we? They did a lot of different automotive. The name sounds
Maybe.
familiar to me.
I've seen so many automotive things, I don't know.
I think it just speaks to how many aftermarket and accessory stuff you could get. I mean,
It's from the National Enameling and Stamping Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
we'll look up that
We'll have to look it up.
for another show.
Okay,
All
that's
right,
it.
another
We'll
car?
have a Nesco show.
The
Yes,
Nesco
let's go to
show.
another car.
Okay. Okay, well, we're going to take a little break from our eating along the road tour, I guess you could say, the museum, to talk a little bit about our temporary exhibit that we have special right here at the museum. And one of the cars that we have here, we teased a little bit for you last month. If you might remember, Dan and I stood in front of this car as we were ending the show. We didn't want to show you too much of it though. It's because we wanted to feature it for real on a later program. We're going to do that tonight. So with me I have Bob Dare. Bob, thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
And Bob, you know more about this interesting car than any of us. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this 1915 Speedster?
Okay, I'll tell you all I know about it. It is a 1915 American LaFrance chassis. American LaFrance built chassis for fire trucks, and occasionally someone would build a Speedster out of that chassis. And that's what's been done with this vehicle. It is a special Speedster, and it has a lot of custom, unusual items that have been put on the car. It's called a Rhino. It has the name and the picture of a rhino on the hubcaps, and there's a rhino on the hood. You can see that the radiator is quite large and quite deep because the American LaFrance chassis were made for use on fire trucks, and of course they would sit and idle for hours at a fire or on doing duty. So it's a very well made, very heavy duty vehicle. This Speedster was made locally here in Pennsylvania, and it has, I say, a lot of custom features. One thing we'll show you in a little while is the motor. It's a very large motor. It's 15 liters, 900 cubic inches. Now, to give you a comparison, if you buy a new Ford or Chevy today, a lot of the motors are 2 liters. So you'd have 7 of the new cars cubic inch displacement to make as much as this. Or if you had bought a high-priced car today or a fast car like a Corvette, you'd need 2 Corvette motors in order to reach the same cubic inch or liter displacement that this has. So it's quite a powerful vehicle. It has 38-inch tires. The tires are 38 by 7. It has an external air cooler, and if we walk down along the side of the vehicle, you'll see This is a replication of what they call a carbide generator. Carbide generator actually is used to make the acetylene to work the what would normally been on a 15 car would have been gas headlights, and usually side lights are kerosene, but they also could have been acetylene gas. The builder of this and the designer of this vehicle actually used some military items on this to make this. This is actually a shell this comes up out of here, and actually what it does, it houses a fire extinguisher. So but it's made to look like a original style carbide generator that would make the acetylene for the headlights. Notice the outside emergency brake outside the chassis. Also the gear changing is a 3-speed forward gear mechanism. It has something special also, that it has a special little lock here that it locks the shift lever into neutral. And that's so that when it was running, say at a fire where someone would bump into it, it would have to have the motor running at a fairly high RPM, and that would keep anybody from accidentally knocking the gear shift into gear so that it could run away. The battery boxes are on the running board. That's where the batteries are normally stored. Notice that it also has a monocle windshield. It's just a windshield for just the driver, not the passenger. If there's any bugs that you run into, the passenger...
You're out of luck.
Yeah, you need to keep your mouth shut when you're driving an open car. It does have seat belts, and this designer also put a updated feature on it, which is it has heated seats. So another novel installation is this little oil pump here that comes from the oil tank. And what it does is if you pump this and it injects oil into the exhaust pipe, and that would make a smoke screen that if the police are chasing you or the villain, you could have a smoke screen to get away from them. There's a number 15 on the side of the gas tank. This is the large gas tank that is where your fuel is kept. And the 15 stands for 15-liter engine, and also it is a 1915 American LaFrance chassis. Notice it does have wood-spoked wheels. They're painted silver, but they are actually wood wheels. Spare tire is mounted at the rear, and in the center this actually opens up, and there's quite a large trunk for your spare parts and pieces and necessary items that you have to have. On the rear, you can't quite see this, but there is a large trunk on the back to carry your things that you would need. Also, as we come around and look at this from a different angle, you'll see that there is actually these streamlined mirrors actually molded into the fender, and that's actually a rear view mirror, so you can see what's going on behind you. This is an electric, but a very Ugo type horn, electric powered brass horn on the side of the vehicle.
Okay, now our viewers from last month will recognize maybe the shock absorbers. You just told us off camera that they are Westinghouse. These are
Westinghouse shock absorbers. They were available in a lot of cars, and if you come to our museum, you can see several cars, examples of the really big heavy-duty shock absorbers that were used in the early years. I wanted to point out a couple things on this side of the vehicle, and one is this manual opening of the cutouts. If you wanted to make a lot of noise, a lot of exhaust noise, and improve your horsepower, there's a cutout. You pull this little lever on the dash here, and then it would open the exhaust to come straight out, right out into the open. Normally, when they're closed, the exhaust would go out the covered tailpipe to the back of the vehicle. I also wanted to point out the size and the height of this motor. This motor is very, very large, and you can see that it has a 6-cylinder These are priming cups. In other words, in order to start a car a lot of the teens, the cars made in the teens, you had a priming cup. You'd put in gasoline in each cup, you'd open the little valve and let the gasoline go into the cylinder, and then when you tried to start the car, they'd all be primed and it would start right up.
And these are huge.
And these are huge, yes.
We have them on other cars, and these are enormous compared to them.
This vehicle also has 3 spark plugs per cylinder. So it's really a heavy-duty, well-designed motor, very powerful. And to just give you an idea, this is one of the type of pistons that's in this vehicle. That is huge. These are the valves. Normally in a new car with a 2-liter car, with the piston would be the size of these valves. So you can see the tremendous size of this motor. 15 liters, 900 cubic inches. Kendra will put that down so you don't have to hold it anymore, okay? It goes down and it has 2 nice little hooks here that hold it down, and so it can't come loose. On this side you can see some of the fancy foot bracket for the passenger to put their feet on. Also you'll see the oil monitor. This is an oil, in the modern days you have an oil gauge that tells you what the pressure is, or if some cars just have a light say that you do or do not have oil pressure. But this, you actually visually watch the oil that goes through the motor. As long as you see oil in there and going through, pumping through, you know you have enough oil in your engine. So it's actually a visible check of your oil pressure and the amount of oil that you have. Notice how large the exhaust pipe is as it goes toward the rear. And then I wanted to point out something else here, just a little bit of the hole in the fender there. This is a chain drive vehicle. In other words, the differential is actually right under the gas tank, and then the rear wheels are driven by that huge chain. Both back wheels have the individual chain to each wheel. Again, as you see that the hubcap shows the rhino on the hubcap, and you now can probably see better the trunk that is on the back of the vehicle. That would be for all your spare parts or accessories that you wanted to take with you on your trip. So it is a great machine. There was a lot of time and energy put into the design. It is a custom one-off piece. There's not another vehicle exactly like this one. Other people have built Speedsters in the past on all kind of different vehicles, but this is certainly an outstanding vehicle here that we have here in the Boyertown Museum. So, Kendra, you're going to have more.
It's amazing how much craftsmanship is in this, and he thought of so many things. And it's nice to see some of the fire engine features coming through too. The gear lock and
right,
you know,
and a large radiator.
Exactly. And this is part of a special exhibit. We've got unique one-off cars here on display, and we've got 2 others you might have seen peeks of as we've been looking at this car. So we hope you come in and visit and see this car in person and the other automobiles that are joining it. So thanks, Bob, for coming.
You're quite welcome.
And did we forget to cover anything on this car?
I think we covered most of it. Yes.
Oh, and notice there's those.
That's a better view of the
right
rear,
there.
the custom rear view mirrors molded into the fender.
Okay, well, we have a brand new member of the museum family, so why don't we go in the diner and meet Debbie. Well, Debbie, welcome. You are our new assistant director here at the Boyertown Museum, Debbie Bertolet, and we're so glad to have you. And we just wanted to introduce her to all you at home as a new face here at the museum. And Debbie, what are some of your plans or visions here for the museum?
Well, I'm very, very excited to be here and to be part of the team of the Boyertown Museum of Historic Vehicles. It's a fabulous venue, and you all need to come out and see it. I want to initiate positive changes here by promoting the museum more, by collaborating and partnering with other groups and organizations in the area, and just promoting the wealth of history here more. So we will be doing some new things for sure in the future. We want to get more membership. We want to get more people coming through our doors, and so that we can educate them on the fabulous history here. So that's what I'm hoping to do.
Yeah, what about the Boyertown Museum or this area attracted you to here, do you think?
Well, I think what they do, I truly believe in it, and I think it's just wonderful. And I've lived in Berks County for 27 years. I haven't lived here recently, but I lived here on the western end of the county in the Galen Hall, Robsonia area for 27 years. My children were born and raised here. I love Berks County, and you know, it's just fabulous to be here. Also, this diner that we're sitting in right now, I was part of this when it first got started, when it was still in the Fegleys in the restaurant.
Wow.
And actually, when I first came here and saw this, it brought tears to my eyes. It still does, because I was part of that whole Archberry Foundation that got this started, but it's before it was moved out of the restaurant. So.
Yeah, we're really lucky to have it here. And as you've noticed tonight, you know, we've been talking about the diner a lot and eating. It's such a great part of the museum, and just a neat aspect of a vehicle museum that maybe we don't always hear about, these roadside places.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
And you said something earlier I wanted to kind of build on. I know that, you know, you seem to really have a strong track record when it comes to building community relations, and we want the museum to be a resource for our community.
Right.
And why do you think it's important that we do that and we engage with our neighbors, so to speak?
Well, I think networking is so very important, and the collaborating and partnering with other organizations. There are some wonderful organizations right here locally that should be and could be major destinations for people from all over. And we want to work with people like that. I think when you partner and collaborate, you can grow by leaps and bounds instead of just working on your own. So I think that is very, very important.
We're all in it together.
Yes, yes, yes. And I have to mention one other thing that is so important to me. This area here too, like I said, I love Berks County, but it actually puts me much closer to my new little grandbaby, Lucas. So I'm excited about that too. He'll be in here doing the car. He'll be driving the cars. I know he will be. He's a car guy already.
Start him young, that's
yes,
what they say.
Yes, exactly.
Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
And please,
Thank
all
you
you
so
at
much.
home, stop in, say hi, drop an email, and welcome Debbie to the neighborhood.
Please
back
do.
to the neighborhood.
Please do. Yes, back to the neighborhood. Yeah. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Okay, we were talking in front of the LaSalle before about some of the stuffs and the way you would have food, and we mentioned about the Knickerbocker case, and you could buy these things that carry your food and ice and things. Again, you had the good old basket. We have another one here. I'm not sure the age of this, but it is old. I'm going to say it's older than Kendra. No, that didn't come out right. It's older than me. But anyway, it's kind of a neat basket here. And we also have a container. And I remember one of these when I was a kid, and I'm sure we had one of these, and we would stop on the side of the road. But you know, we've talked about prepared foods. You know, you would leave home with the food already prepared. It would be hot or cold and it'd be in your car, and it came time to eat it, you would do that. Well, what about cooking? Okay, we talked also about going from Boyertown to Reading, you might stop for lunch. Well, let's say you're going to Harrisburg. It might take you, 2 days or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it would take. So there was ways you'd want to cook things, and I found a whole slew of things here. One of them was called the Ready Stove, made by the Ready Company of Columbus, Ohio. It was a wood-burning grill. It also had a little container in it. You could put food in and cook it that way. And that was pretty cool. And it was just a little folding oven, and you'd still have to go get your wood, and maybe you'd carry wood with you and put it underneath the thing and light it and cook your meal that way. There was a Presto Light hot plate. Now, I don't know if you've heard of Presto Light before, but they were the main guys who were supplying the acetylene for your headlights for your car. So a lot of cars had a Presto Light cylinder on their car, pressurized gas.
Yeah, some here even.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And you could get this hot plate. You could hook it up to your acetylene there, and you would cook through this hot plate. And again, it was the Presto Light hot plate. It cost you $4.50 in 1916 for one of these. That would be a cool thing to have in a
Yeah,
museum.
that would be neat.
Said the heat of full flame boils a quart of water in 3 minutes. That's quicker than I can do at home. So
How to boil water.
yeah, maybe I need one of them at home.
Yeah, why not? Do you have an
another
acetylene
one-
tank at home?
What?
Do you have an acetylene tank at home?
Okay, no. I think my landlord would kind of frown on that.
Probably.
Baxter portable stove was another one. Includes pots, pans, utensils, plates, etc. Includes also a 5-gallon water reservoir, which kind of attached to the side of the stove to stay hot. Then we had a folding gasoline stove. A couple quotes for this. That's made by a company called Prentice Waber Manufacturing Company out of Grand Rapids, Wisconsin. And their stove is actually called the Moats Kitchenette Camp Stove. Ideal for the recreation lover, practice economy, as well as derive more pleasure from your trips. Cook your meals outdoors in a jiffy. Save hotel bills. Victuals. Did I say that right? Tastes different when eaten in the open. That's a word you don't hear in today's
Wow,
advertising.
no, not at all.
Practically indestructible, beautifully finished, folds completely and fastens on the running board, and so on and so forth. So, you could get this whole thing, it would mount right to your running board. So that was the Moats Kitchenette Camp Stove. Okay, now we have another thing here, this little deal right here, and I got this catalog I sent away for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. It was for another reason, not because of this, but about auto camping. It's called the Schilling Auto Camp, where you get all these different items. You have a car about this era. This is a 1920 Packard, by the way. And if you're camping, you can get a tent and it would attach right to the car. Your bed would attach to the running board. Your pillows would be right there. But I'm looking in the back of it, and it talks about an American camp cook, the ideal camp stove. And there's one here called the Camp Cook number 3. I found one online. So here we are right here. And this little deal cost $6.50 for what you see there. And the stand, the legs here, would cost an extra $1.50. So
Oh, they didn't come with it?
No.
Oh, I just assumed
so
they
for
did.
$8, you get the whole thing. And this ran off of gasoline, okay? None of this acetylene stuff or kerosene or anything. This is straight gasoline. This is your gasoline reservoir here, and this right here is an air pump, and so you'd pump air there, which would pressurize it, and you open the valves and such, and it would go in there, and it has 2 burners, and there you go. So that's the Camp Cook, American Camp Cook. And Camp Cook is spelled K-A-M-P-K-O-O-K. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And it says here in the catalog, used by more campers than all other camp stoves combined, and believing that they are entirely correct in their choice, we, for the 5th year, recommend them to our customers. We could handle stoves for one half the price, or those that sold for twice the money, but none so satisfactory to the user. I understand that Coleman was making stoves like this not that long ago, and I think they're very similar to this today. But this is an actual stove. This is from, we'll say, about 1930, maybe late 20s in there. And again, it's straight off of gasoline. And it even has another little accessory you could get. It's called the American Auto Siphon. So you'd siphon gas right out of your car tank, and you put it in here, and you light it up, and you would go. And So this is a pretty neat thing here. So there you go. A little pan here. This looks like a porcelain thing. And I remember, I think we had something like this when I was a kid, the blue with the white dots. And it's a pretty neat little pan, but again, you would have these devices camping. So you would have these camping kits and such, and you'd have a stove, and you could really cook up a storm, to use a popular term, I guess. So that's kind of it with this car, and we will go to another car in a moment. Okay, we have another item here. This is just a regular picnic basket. I'm thinking this is 50s, 60s, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, take a look at the plaid. I mean, I'm jealous.
When
I don't
I-
have a shirt like that.
I know. When I
Yeah.
saw this, I immediately said, "This is
Yeah.
this is for Dan."
But this is a metal case, and you know, this would be something going along the road, and you would stop and use this as a picnic. And I remember when I was a kid, we used to do this quite often, going to the shore. That was a big trip for us. And this one has a thermos in it, and we have a kind of a
Also plaid.
Yes, plaid. Yep. And this also has something in it that you wouldn't see in the items we saw earlier. Is like this. This is called Zero Ice portable refrigerant, and Kendra has one there. And what's that one?
This is Wizard Dry Cube Ice in Cans.
So this is something you would stick in your freezer and get them nice and cold, and you'd put them in there. And they got stuff similar to that today, but these are older. I think 60s, 50s.
I don't know. We were trying to decide this. There's some artwork on the back of the happy housewife using it. I think she looks about in the 50s to me.
This looks like about a 56 Pontiac here. So there you go.
There was something else. No, see, I won't be able to find it. Oh, here it is. To reuse, simply freeze over and over again. There is no deterioration. Dry cubes, if not opened and if wiped dry after each use, should last indefinitely.
Indefinitely.
Yeah.
So that probably work right now if we stuck it in the freezer.
It's cold now. I think it's a little cold
Okay.
on the hands already.
Okay.
I mean, it's not going to keep your food cold, but
No.
it's cool.
So
I think if you stuck it in the freezer, it'd be fine.
yeah.
But we have these now, but they're plastic.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
I got some I use
Yeah.
every day with my lunch.
Yeah.
So
And this also, I think, is neat. It has the price right on it in the actual metal.
yes,
You see that?
39 cents.
39 whole cents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one's free.
Oh,
There's
well,
no
good.
price,
No price.
so-
It must be free.
So anyway, that's something that was back in the 50s and 60s. And I do have a couple other things here. I have something called Strong Auto Eat. It was a kitchen and table equipment. Now, so we're going to go back here to 1916. This is another good quote here. Not content with providing the sleeping accommodations, the Strong Bungalow Company has likewise made what it calls the Auto Eat, which takes care of the eating part of the trip. This contrivance makes the form of a trim-looking box on the running board to hold food and dishes. When the box is open, the lid rests on folding brackets and holds the food as served. So there you go, you got the whole food thing. Thus, the Auto Tent and Auto Eat take the place of a hotel and at the same time enable the out-of-doors enthusiast to get all the pleasure and benefit of sleeping and eating in the air. It is hardly necessary to mention that those who would enjoy such a method of sleeping and cooking may make their auto trips and save one of the largest items of expense. So there you go. You're taking care of the food and the lodging. Still had to pay for gas, though. Okay. And they made other things. They made an extension light, and they made the water bag. Remember I mentioned a water bag earlier. And then one last thing here. And I say this is kind of coolest thing, and I wish I had one to show you. And I thought this was something that was just made recently to put on old cars to kind of give it that cool old-timey look. But I actually found an advertisement for this. It's called the Auto Cooker. says, let your engine cook the meals while you travel along. No fuel needed. The auto cooker, easily attached under the hood, prepares meats, vegetables, coffee, etc. quickly. No orders, fully guaranteed. Cooking receipts or recipes with each auto cooker. Ford models complete with solid aluminum containers. Something you would connect right to your engine, so the engine itself would heat your food. So you would leave home, you have cold food, you put it in there, you get to your destination, you're ready to eat. So
I
that's
don't know
it.
if I trust that.
I'd trust it. Oh yeah, why not? So, and that's it.
All right, perfect. All right, well, believe it or not, that's it.
That's
That's
it.
it for another month.
Yes.
So, everyone, thank you at home for joining us for dinner this evening, we'll
Yes,
say.
dinner. And here you can see what Kendra was talking about earlier, the little menu here, and that's why we're standing here, so you could see that.
Yeah,
So
all that
that's
nice
pretty cool.
hand-painted work.
So,
there.
and to repeat what Kendra said, thank you for watching. We appreciated doing this. This is a fun segment, I
Yeah,
think. So.
that was neat.
And you got to meet a few other people who are involved with the museum also.
So we'll see you all again in December.